So here we have a question on the 2017 FRQ section of the AP Macroeconomics exam. Starts by giving us some details about the product that we're going to be talking about, which is corn. It says that ethanol is an alternative fuel. Assume corn is produced in a perfectly competitive market. So looking at part A, draw a correctly labeled side-by-side graphs for the corn market and representative corn farmer. On the graphs, show each of the following, and then just ask to show the quantity for the market and as well as the quantity for the farmer. M is for market, F is for farmer. So for A, we're gonna start with our corn market, and this is just gonna look like a standard supply and demand curve that we all know and love. So supply is upward shifting, demand is downward shifting. I'm gonna go price on the y-axis, quantity on the x-axis, and then we are also gonna draw a price going through the equilibrium here. We're actually gonna extend it out so that it reaches the second graph, because it will represent the demand curve of the second graph that we will be drawing. And then we could label this as QM1, then PM1. I know the question asks to just label it as PM. I like to label it as PM1, but for this purpose, I guess we'll just erase the 1 so that we can maximize our points. Next, second part of part A of question 1, we're going to be drawing the graph for the corn farmer. So now we're going into an individual seller instead of an entire market. So same thing. Basically just gonna draw our axes here, make them nice and straight. And then this dotted line from earlier, that price, basically gonna solidify that, make that the demand curve, label that as demand. And then we are going to draw our MC curve, marginal cost. Oops. Nice little swoosh. Marginal cost. And then ATC is going to match up with demand and MC. Then immediately slope up. Label that as ATC. Then we're going to label our axes. They're going to be P, Q, F, F. And right here, everything lines up. Label that Q, F. And my apologies, we're going to erase the F right here. These are just P, Q. And we can also go back here and erase the M's here. Remember, we want to appeal to the directions going on over here, so label the axes differently than the PMs and the QFs. So we got our base corn farmer graph right here, just without any shifts, and as well as the corn market. So part B of question A, assume the demand for ethanol increases. On your graphs in part A, which we just drew, show what will happen to each of the following in the short run. So the market price and quantity, and as well as the area of profit or loss, each by represented corn farmer. And we are gonna have to shade that so it's gonna look kind of like a box. So we're gonna start with the B1 in the market graph. So since the demand for ethanol increased and ethanol is used to make corn, the demand for the corn market will also increase. So we're gonna shift the demand curve, and then we're gonna draw our new equilibriums. So we could, let's see what it asks to label it as, Q star and P star. So Q star, and then P star. So now we have our corn market graph nicely set up, super clean. You could even use a little arrow just so that the people grading it could see that demand shift very clearly. So just like how in part A1, the price line transcended into the demand line of the corn farmer graph, same thing's gonna happen here after the demand shift. So dot it up, dot it up, dot it up. And here we are on our corn farmer graph. We could draw a straight line now. Label that as D2 because that's our second demand. Let's see if it lines up. It doesn't exactly tell us how to label our demand curve, so we could just label it as D2 and D1 for our convenience. So now second part of part B of question 1 is to show profit or loss. So we're working with a new demand curve and new quantity now on the corn farmer graph. So we could draw where the demand curve intercepts marginal cost, which is right here. While we're at it, we could even label a new quantity that we're at as Q2. It doesn't tell us in the direction, so how we could label it. So for our convenience, we're just gonna label it as Q2. And then you can basically just go down from this point, draw a solid line until you hit ATC, and then everything to the left of that is gonna be our profit now, because it was above where we were before. So now that is our new profit. It is shaded even more. There we go. And draw another point right here just to emphasize it. So part C is basically asking, relative to our answer in part B, state what will happen to the market equilibrium price and quantity corn in the long run. Explain. So basically, since now, with the new changes in demand, as we can see in our corn farmer graph, we are now making a profit, whereas before the demand shift, we were not, which means now more corn farmers are gonna wanna start entering this market. And since there's no barrier to entry, the supply is gonna go up. So we could label this as basically just S2, just to demonstrate. And this is gonna be our, this is gonna be our new equilibrium right here. So as you could tell, price is gonna go down and quantity will go up in the long run. So part D, soybeans are produced in a perfectly competitive market. Assume farmers can grow either corn or soybeans on the same land. What happens to the price of soybeans in the next planting season if the price of corn increases? Explain. So, basically, if the price of corn were to increase, it would just further incentivize corn sellers to join the corn market. This in turn would create a negative supply shock in the soybean market. Let me illustrate that really quickly, which would actually, let's see how that looks on the graph. Demand, downward sloping, and then price, quantity, Q1, P1. So negative supply shock, bam, S2, price of the soybeans will go up. Okay, final part of question 1. Assume instead of the government sets a binding price ceiling in the corn market, draw a new correctly labeled graph for the corn market and show each of the following: the binding price ceiling labeled as PC, and the quantity by consumers purchased. So it's basically just asking for a core market graph, but you throw in a price ceiling and mark the quantity at which consumers would buy corn. So we're going to draw our core market graph. It's going to start off basically basically the exact same as it was before. So price, quantity, at supply, demand. Then we're going to draw a price ceiling right here, nice and straight. They asked us to label it as PC. And then consumers just buy where price ceiling equals supply. So that would be right here. And that is the quantity. And they asked us to label that as QP. And there we go.